Evaluator and the role of Grammarian. If you happen to be in the wrong place, please feel free to exit. I think there was someone here earlier. I don't know how they joined, but I think they were in the wrong room. Fortunately, they've left the room. We're covering once again General Evaluator as well as Grammarian. If you don't think this is relevant to you, feel free to leave the room. I'm going to be starting with the role of General Evaluator. General Evaluator, how do you play this role? And I'm going to break it down into 3 portions: before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. What do you do before the meeting starts? General Evaluator, like every other role player, you get the privilege of speaking before the audience. If you are playing the role, if you're going in front of an audience to speak, it's an opportunity to get better. And I would like to stress this. Any role, I don't care what it is, if you are going to speak before an audience, it's an opportunity to get better in your public speaking, which means please prepare your speech in advance. The reports you have to deliver, you cannot prepare those ones in advance, but other elements of your speech, introduction, conclusion, to a great extent, you can prepare them in advance. Similarly, the General Evaluator, please prepare your speech in advance. The speech explaining what you're going to do to the audience you'll be speaking before. General Evaluator, as the name implies, you're going to pay attention from everything from the start of the meeting to the very end of the meeting and give feedback, things that were done well, recommendations on how to improve certain things, and finally, give some more commendations on things you believe were done well. As a general evaluator, you're leading a team, the team of every single evaluator. Most of us are aware of what we call the tag team: the timer, the counter, and the grammarian. These people are part of your team, as well as all the speech evaluators and even the table topics evaluator. Everyone that is evaluating a speech that day or any element of the meeting, they are part of the general evaluators team. This is very important. What this means is, before the meeting, other than just preparing your speech, explaining your role, your function for the audience to understand, you should also reach out to your team members, speech evaluators, table topics evaluator, as well as the tag team, timer, counter, grammarian. Find out if they are prepared, if they need any assistance, for instance. Some of them may be playing the role for the very first time. Those people specifically will probably need some form of assistance. For the prepared speech evaluators, you need to confirm that they've gotten the slip for the evaluation. Also try and encourage them to reach out to the speakers, get the proper pronunciation of the name, and confirm anything else that maybe the speaker wants them to pay attention to. Also ensure that the table topics evaluator is conversant with the responsibility of their role. Remember, they're evaluating multiple people, not just one. Find out if they know what to do. All this you're going to do before the meeting commences. I highly recommend as well that you tell your team members to please show up early to meetings. We try not to show up on time, show up early to the meetings. Why is this important? We have speakers, we have role players, and all those roles need to be filled. If people don't show up early for the meeting, you may not know if they're going to show up at all, and it'll make it harder to get replacements. In our meetings, we can have one person playing 2, 3 roles if you don't have other Toastmasters available and competent enough to play those roles. By the time it's time for the meeting to start, those available should have taken up all the roles, meaning anyone that is late at the point where the meeting is starting, they already have a backup. And as far as evaluators are concerned, that is your responsibility as the general evaluator. All this happens before the meeting. Now, on the day of the meeting, hopefully you show up early, your team members show up early, get relaxed, engage with guests, engage with other members, and pay attention to what time the meeting starts. The meeting should start on time. If it's not starting on time, pay attention. The Toastmaster of the day, the president, the sergeant at arms, somebody needs to inform the audience in advance. It's a form of respect. Remember, our core values: respect, integrity, service, excellence. Letting people know in advance that for whatever reason we're starting late, respect, shows integrity, we're offering service to them, and it shows excellence. All 4 core values. Someone just coming up and letting them know, sorry, we said we're going to start at 12 p.m., but we have to push it back 10 minutes afterwards for these reasons. Or you might just tell them, we need to push it back to ensure certain things are in place. But do this before 12, not at 12 or after 12. It doesn't show that we're professional or care for those that have taken their time to be at the meeting. During the course of the meeting, what are you going to be doing? Generally, our meeting will go sergeant at arms, who introduces the president, who introduces the Toastmaster of the day, who finally introduces you, the general evaluator. You let the audience know your responsibility as a general evaluator, and then you introduce your tag team. Timer, counter, grammarian. Certain clubs, you may have listening evaluator. Certain clubs have the joke master. It depends on the club you're playing the role of general evaluator. Please know who your team members that you'll be introducing are before you show up to the meeting. After I introduce your members, you now come up and then inform them that at the end of the meeting, all your team members will come back and deliver their reports before you now hand control back to the Toastmaster of the day. At this point, you continue paying attention to everything that will transpire over the course of the meeting. You have all the prepared speeches, you have table topics, and then you have the evaluation portion of the meeting. At that point, the Toastmaster of the day is going to hand back control to you, the general evaluator. You will now call up, depending on the club you're evaluating, perhaps the prepared speech evaluators, then the table topics evaluator, and then you'll introduce your tag team, timer, counter, grammarian. And it may extend to listening evaluator or joke master, depending on the club where you're playing this role. When they are done, then finally, you will come and give your own report. Please excuse me. My apologies for that. You come and give your final report. Note the way we do evaluations at Toastmasters: commend, recommend, and finally commend. List a few things that you liked about the meeting, all the way from before the meeting commenced to this point when you're giving your report. Then give some recommendations on how to improve the quality of the meeting, and finally end with some more commendations. Note, please, it is a speech, your introduction, body, conclusion. While all this is going on, you need to pay attention to the time. Every portion of Toastmasters meeting has time allotted to it. If the time is reduced for whatever reason, you may not be able to deliver everything that you've penned down. You have to find a way to prioritize the most important things. But if you have sufficient time, by all means, say everything that you've penned down. That's okay. As a general evaluator, you need to pay attention to this, as well as how all your team members are utilizing time. When you come for the evaluation portion of the meeting, and you notice certain members, even though the timer has raised the red card, are completely ignoring it, this is the point you can step in as the team lead for the evaluation portion and tell them that they please need to wrap up. You are in charge during this portion of the meeting. That is very important. Once you're done with your general evaluation, you hand back control to the Toastmaster of the day, and for the meeting, your responsibility is done. After the meeting, what happens? After the meeting, because you're leading a team, I always encourage, please send appreciation notes. It can be something typed, it could be a voice note, or you could call your team members. Remember, timer, R-counter, grammarian, maybe listening evaluator, joke master, as well as prepared speech evaluators, table topics evaluator, anyone evaluating any portion of the meeting, you need to please appreciate them. And why is this important? It tells them that you appreciate the efforts they made to thoroughly prepare for the role they played. And it encourages them to come back and play their roles again or some other roles. Before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. These are the responsibilities of the general evaluator, briefly summarized. If you have any questions or comments regarding playing the role of general evaluator, you may raise your hand or type a chat and we'll address it to the best of our ability. Please go ahead, Toastmaster Kudus.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster John. So my question is, and many times I've seen general evaluators take, when you want to give your report, some people will go as from the start of the meeting, even if it's a recommendation or commendation, they just want to go chronologically, while some will start with commendations, recommendation and commendation, which is the CRC method. So please, which one do you think is best, and which one is standard?
Thank you for that question. Toastmaster Kudus said that he has observed certain general evaluators will go based on the order of the meeting. They will give commendations, recommendations, prepared speeches, table topics, go based on that order. Some, on the other hand, will do commendations, recommendations, and commendations for the entire meeting. Toastmasters recommends commendations, recommendation, commendation. That is the standard we usually utilize. And I think it makes it easier to grasp what we did well and what we didn't do so well. But if someone is going chronologically, maybe the people that participated in that portion for the prepared speech, table topics, and even evaluation, because they may give some feedback on evaluation as well, can grasp that. But our recommendation for Toastmasters is commendation, recommendation, and then end with commendation. I hope that helps, Toastmaster Kudus.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Fantastic. Toastmaster Usman, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster John, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters. My question is somewhat related to Toastmaster Kudus' question. Mine is, are we to also evaluate the role players? Because I noticed some general evaluators talk about how some of the role players performed, like the timer, our counter, the Toastmaster of the day. Then I once did a general evaluation where I evaluated, I believe, everything, including I pointed out that the meeting could have included, because the tag team didn't use the Toastmasters script, so they used their notebooks. Then I suggested they could have used the script. So is that also something that can be evaluated or should be overlooked? I said the summary of the question will be what and what should be evaluated. Is it everything, or there are some aspects of the meeting?
Thank you so much for that question, Toastmaster Usman. General evaluator, your priority, prepared speeches, table topics, those actually delivering speeches. However, if time permits, evaluate every single aspect of the meeting. Evaluate the role players, evaluate including Toastmaster of the day, evaluate everyone that did something, sergeant at arms, every single part of it, if time permits, which is very important. I keep stressing, we need to pay attention to the time that has been allotted to us. And if for whatever reason the speakers, they spoke too long, at this point, we don't have too much time, Toastmaster of the day says, please, can you condense your 5 minutes to 3 minutes? At that point, just prioritize maybe giving feedback to the speakers, as well as how we organize the meeting as a whole. But if time permits, Toastmaster Usman, every part that you can evaluate. Does that help?
Yes, thank you very much.
You are welcome. Toastmaster Ihioma, our general evaluator for tomorrow. Please go ahead.
Good evening, TM John.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. I'm supposed to, well, the general evaluator is supposed to introduce the speech evaluators. Then they also introduce the speakers. To what extent are they introducing the speakers? Does it have to do with their bios, or what are we introducing about the speakers? What does it include?
Thank you for that. Toastmaster Hioma, now it depends on the club. I think most clubs, the Toastmaster of the day actually introduces the speech evaluator and the speakers. You need to confirm how they do it at that club. Most clubs, the Toastmaster of the day will introduce the speech evaluators and the speakers. They don't hand over to the general evaluator, who introduces the speech evaluator before handing back control to the Toastmaster of the day to introduce the speakers. It's generally Toastmaster of the day introduce speech evaluators to give the objectives of the speeches, and then introduces the speakers. At the evaluation portion, the general evaluator calls up the prepared speech evaluators, not introduce, because they've been introduced previously by the Toastmaster of the day. You just call up the prepared speech evaluators in order of their evaluation. First evaluator, second evaluator, third evaluator. Does that help, Toastmaster Ihema?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. If we have any further questions for general evaluator, please, we can type them or ask them later. I'll be going on to the second role for today, the role of grammarian. The role I love because many of us run away from it. The grammarian is one of those roles where, for those of us learning English as a second language, or those of us that didn't pay attention to English in school, like myself, my worst subject was Yoruba. The next to it was English. Everything else I loved. I didn't pay that much attention to English. When it now comes to dissecting this wonderful thing called grammar, we tend to flee from it. What does the grammarian do? I'll break this down to two parts: before the meeting, during the meeting. Before the meeting, like all role players, you prepare a speech to explain your role as a grammarian. Simply put, you are in charge of grammar, paying attention to good use of grammar and poor use of grammar, so you can give feedback on how people can improve. That's the first element. The second part is introducing the word of the day. You pick a word that you want people to learn how to use, how to infuse into their regular speech. Why? Because when we have more words, it helps us become more eloquent. You add this to the proper use of grammar, you really boost your eloquence, your articulation, generally speaking. And that's why you're there as a grammar, to help people become better speakers. Whether it's be more professional, to help them get elevated, promoted at work, help them get business deals, whatever the case may be, where English is concerned, you want to help them achieve these numerous goals that pertain to getting more words to add to their arsenal and proper usage of grammar. Other than this, you may also pay attention to certain quotes that maybe captivate you, or certain elements of the English language that are really riveting in that meeting, or just poor use in general. These are the things that the grammarian does. Now, I recommend generally that you get more positive words than negative. I think it's easier to utilize more positive words than negative words, but it depends on you. That's my recommendation. And words that you believe people will actually be able to use generally in life. No words that are so esoteric that maybe they'll use it once a year if they're invited for this specific program. That is not the goal. It's not to make people feel, how am I going to use this word? It's very difficult. I'm never going to use it. And at the end of the day, only one person utilizes the word. That's not the idea for the word of the day. You pick the word of the day, send it, add it to the agenda, and you're going to explain what the word of the day is. This should have been put on the agenda as well. Now, if it's a hybrid meeting, I highly recommend that you also type it in the chat box. And you can type it occasionally so people continue to see it. Because if it's really a word that most of us in the room, we don't use often, most people are going to forget. Most people will forget. Not many of us are used to seeing a word for the first time and quickly learn how to infuse it into whatever it is we're going to say, especially prepared speeches. Continue to remind the entire room by typing it. If it's a physical meeting, maybe it can be projected or it's just put up there for everyone to see on a regular basis. Very important. Now, what happens during the meeting? During the meeting, the general evaluator is going to introduce you as one of their team members, the grammarian. You come up, you give your speech explaining your responsibility as a grammarian, introducing the word of the day and letting them know that you are going to pay attention to how often everyone uses the word of the day. You'll come back and give feedback on proper usage of grammar, poor use of grammar, and the use of the word of the day. Please note, I know this is not done often, at least the clubs I've visited. If the word of the day is overused and abused, I usually encourage that the grammarian notes this. Why is this important? Because you don't want to learn words and use them too much that it becomes monotonous. It takes away from your eloquence. It takes away from your professionalism. Sometimes the way it's used is more celebrated. I actually don't think it should be. Note, the reason we have many words and we look for synonyms is because as human beings, we get bored easily. That's one reason. And we are more engaged when you replace certain words with synonyms. You could have used the same words in 5 places, maybe 2 or 3 sentences, but it becomes so mundane and the person gets bored and they're no longer paying attention. Use another word that can take its place. Then it becomes more engaging. I encourage in the meeting, when someone uses the word of the day 20 times for a 2-minute speech, you stress the fact that this is actually not encouraged, versus saying the person that used the word of the day the most, let's celebrate them, is this speaker. Toastmaster John used it 20 times, for his table topic speech. That is not the goal. And as the grammarian, let people know. Learn more words so you can use them instead of just using one repeatedly. And you become boring, you lose your audience, and it takes away completely from the goal you're trying to achieve. Grammarian, please stress this. This is not done often, which is why I had to take a bit of time to explain that it would be great you explain that to your audience. Very important. The entire meeting goes on and you come back to deliver your report. Now, please note, grammarian, start paying attention to what people are saying from the beginning, the very beginning, meaning when the sergeant at arms starts the meeting. If you are pressed for time, you can give feedback on the prepared speeches, the table topic speeches. If time permits, give feedback on every single person, similar to the question Toastmaster Usman asked earlier, starting right from the sergeant at arms to this point when you're giving feedback. Proper use of grammar, improper use of grammar, and this could include diction as well, the use of the word of the day, quotes, anything that was really captivating where words are concerned, or anything that was poorly done where words are concerned. Once you're done with the report, you hand back control to the general evaluator, go back to your seat, and your responsibility as a grammarian is done. Does anyone have a question or comment regarding the role of grammarian? You can raise your hands or you can type in the chat box. Toastmaster Usman, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Master John. I missed what she said, and I'm going back to the recording to confirm. But just in case the question is not answered in the recording, I'll ask it now. So for the word of the day, and does using the synonyms count as using the word of the day too?
Very good question. I've seen it done multiple ways. Certain times I've noticed that the grammarian might say use the word, and certain times the grammarian might say synonyms are permitted. Personally, I think it's okay to say synonyms are permitted, unless maybe the synonyms are so different that you feel you want them to focus on the word of the day specifically, then that may be different. So in that context, it's probably up to the grammarian to say, I want them to learn this word and the synonyms are close enough that will permit it. In fact, some grammarians, they also count your use of the word of the day in the chat box. Some don't, but some count if you use it in the chat box, which means you need to let them know. We are going to count when you utter the word of the day as well as when you type the word of the day. Really, it's up to you to choose what you want to do. And then at the end, you give feedback. These people spoke the word of the day this many times and wrote the word of the day this many times. In summary, I think it depends on you to choose and decide that this is the way we're going to go because of how the synonyms relate to the actual word. Does that help, Toastmaster Usman?
Yes, thank you. It answers the question. Thank you.
You're welcome. And just to say, because certain words, we are maybe really used to them. We say it every day. It's so mundane. But a synonym we don't use. Now, if I use that synonym as the word of the day, I would not want you to use the regular word that we all use as a synonym because you're not learning anything new. Such an example is something that will make a grammarian say, no, we're not going to accept the synonym in that context. Toastmaster Ari, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster John. So for the role of the grammarian, I'm thinking that for a role as that, because of its uniqueness, it should actually be going to, I don't know if to say, persons with such background that can really add value. Because, it's a bit dicey having to listen in for proper use of English, maybe when you're not even sure you know the proper use of English yourself, and you're asked to point out those things. So I think this role, I mean, for obvious reasons, why people will shy away is because what are you really looking out for? What are you listening to? So my question would be, is there anything that one could do to sharpen his or ability or a skill in maybe this area? Everyone didn't do English as like maybe an advanced course or something like the diction and all of those things, which I mean is something that we should really be able to add value to people, for people that are playing this role of grammarian, because it's just shallow. You just listen in and maybe, oh, great speech, you did well here. I mean, so I don't know if there's anything one can do to sharpen or so that you can add more value to this particular role. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Aris. I'll answer the question you asked and actually answer the questions you didn't ask as well. I'll make a note about the comments you referred to at the beginning. Now, the question, anything someone can do to improve their grammar? Absolutely. You can read books, you can watch certain shows where they use proper grammar, because you learn just by being in the midst of people that use proper grammar. There's one of our very own, the English doctor. He wrote a book on grammar. Fantastic book. Anyone that wants to get it, you can reach out to him, pay. If you don't have his contact, reach out to me. I'll give you his contact and you can purchase the virtual version of the book. But there are many books that will help you. And reading generally helps improve your grammar, because ideally as you read, you don't understand, do research on it. So reading, watching certain shows, that are great in their use of grammar as well as words, not just any show. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Josephine. She has put in the chat box, Elevate Your Expression by Toastmaster Craig Esode. Great book to get. Those are ways to improve your grammar, or perhaps just be around people that use great grammar and can assist you. That being said, because it's 9:30, officially we are done. Feel free to exit the room. We'll not take it as being rude. This is 9 to 9:30. Nonetheless, I'm going to continue to attend to this question and other questions that people may have. So that's a way to improve your grammar. Also, playing the role of grammarian. Now, this goes into the comment you made earlier. You made the comment that because not all of us are great with grammar, shouldn't it be given to certain people that are really good when it comes to grammar, perhaps diction as well, because they can pay attention to these things? Two things. One, yes, when you're thinking, oh, who'll be good at playing this role? In fact, part of planning a meeting, when you look at the role players, especially Toastmaster of the Day, General Evaluator, if someone is new to playing the role of General Evaluator, it might be better to get someone more experienced to play the role of Toastmaster of the Day. If someone is new to playing the role of Toastmaster of the Day, it might be better to get someone more experienced in playing the role of General Evaluator. If someone is not so good in speaking and they are playing one of these important roles, get someone else that is quite eloquent and articulate to play the other role. And it's the same way you may look at different role players. Nonetheless, because we paid money to be in this friendly environment to learn and improve by doing, people who are not good in grammar should sign up for the role of grammarian, because one of the ways you improve is by playing that role. Now, for others, you may say, but they're not going to get everything. Yes, because they are learning to pay attention to these things. The same way our counter may not be able to get all the and and phrases that are used as pause fillers. The same way other people may not be very good at playing their roles. Timer may be very poor in timekeeping, but they play the roles to learn as well. In that situation, when you know the person playing the role of grammarian is probably not going to do a great job, you can pick a general evaluator who is also skilled when it comes to grammar. Why? As Toastmaster Usman said, should the general evaluator evaluate all the role players as well? If time permits, in this situation, the general evaluator can also highlight areas of grammar that were good or that the grammarian omitted, because at this point, they are not skilled enough to pay attention and grab those points. In essence, it's a way of balancing role players, because we know we are here to learn by doing. So you do not exclude people from playing roles that they don't have the skills for, seemingly, because we are here to learn the skills by doing. Those are the two things. Yes, it's good when you get people that are quite skilled at doing that, but we have to remember why exactly we're here and what Toastmasters is for. We're here to learn by doing. And while that may not sit well with many people in the room because they feel, oh no, that was not sufficient, it was poor, the Toastmaster of the Day, the general evaluator, can make it easier by explaining. Everyone you see speaking and playing a role, we are here to learn. Some people may be much higher in terms of their skill at the moment for that thing they're doing. Some may be lower, but everyone is welcome here at Toastmasters. That's why we're here, to create that environment for everyone to learn and grow by doing. Toastmaster Ari, does that help?
Yes, it does. But I have another question, though.
Please go ahead.
So, getting the word of the day, what's your strategy? How do you arrive at the word of the day? Because I think I find that a bit tasking.
There's no strategy. You search. Maybe it's something you heard in a movie that captivated you. A friend said something and you didn't know what they meant, and you thought, I need to learn this word. So you choose that as the word of the day. Or nothing comes to mind. So you say, what word can I use? And you start searching. I have no strategy. I have no strategy. For instance, now, certain shows I watch, the speaker might use certain words as they come up, and I want to learn those words, or I really like those words. If I'm chosen for the grammarian, I would use one of those ones. Certain platforms I'm on, they introduce new words regularly. Because I want to learn one of those words, I could use it. But you may not be in either of those situations. But you're tasked with the responsibility of being the grammarian. Search. Ask someone. No strategy, just think of something and it'll be easy to come up with words. Does that help?
Shouldn't the word align with the theme for the meeting?
Oh, yes. Now that's important.
Yeah.
If there are certain words that you can actually pick to align, great. But the thing is, they are words. Words can be used to align with the theme once you create a sentence, make a paragraph, have a speech. Words are not so unique that it has to be something close to the definition of the theme. No, we're not that limited when it comes to words, because you can use it to create a sentence and something larger that aligns with the theme. But if somehow you're able to pick a word that directly aligns with the theme, by all means, and it improves our vocabulary, helps our eloquence, our articulation, please go ahead. But it's a word. Words can be used to align with virtually everything possible. Does that help, Toastmaster Aris?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. And Madam Area Director said the same. It can also align with the theme of the meeting. Absolutely. Once again, we are done for today. It's 9 to 9:30. This is attending to questions or comments that come afterwards. Feel free to leave if you want to leave. Any questions, any comments still pertaining to General Evaluator or Grammarian? And if not, because we are done for today, any other questions for other roles you may be playing? At this point, we can attend to those questions as well. I don't see any hands up. I don't see any comments in the chat box. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. We're here every Friday, 9 to 9:30. I do not wait for people to come. Okay, Toastmaster Larry, please go ahead. Toastmaster Larry, I don't know if it's just me, but I cannot hear you. And you appear to be unmuted. Can anyone else hear Toastmaster Larry, or is it just my network?
No.
Toastmaster
Okay,
Larry.
can you hear me now? Is it better?
Ah, thank you. So much better. Please go ahead.
All right, cool. So I'm playing the role of the accountant on Sunday. Can you give me any tip that I can use? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The role of accountant, very interesting role. One thing that helps, Toastmasters International has this form, the accountant, I don't know what they call it, but it's an accountant document, list of many pause fillers. You can print it, and it's easier to tick people's names if they use those pause fillers. You can add to them if perhaps some people use unique pause fillers at your meeting. But I know one of the challenges is that when people say certain pause fillers, tracking each one, writing them from scratch, it's very difficult. If you already have the list in advance, which Toastmasters International already has their website, please go and search for it, download it, and you can take it to your meeting. Another tip is not all words that are usually pegged as pause fillers are actually pause fillers, similar to not all phrases. What type of words or phrases do people usually say these are pause fillers? So is one of those words, and one of those words, you know, is one of those phrases that a number of people have as pause fillers. But if you're going to have a sentence similar to, you know, the first time you taste your best food because it takes you to another plane, something like that, where you intentionally use, you know, don't tag that as a pause filler. So you have a sentence, and as a conjunction, you now say, so it led me to do this. Proper usage of so. Because you're playing the role of accountant, don't disconnect yourself from the context of the sentences or the speeches, and just pay attention to the sound, the word, or the phrases so that you can count them. But pay keen attention to the context so you know, are these words, even the sound and phrases, used properly or improperly? If they are used improperly, meaning as pause fillers, then you take note of them. Does that help, Toastmaster Larry?
Yes, it does. It does a lot. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And similar to what I suggested for other roles, please pay attention to the time allotted to you to deliver your report. If you're in a meeting that for whatever reason, it's inundated with pause fillers, and your time has been reduced maybe to 2 minutes, or some extreme situations, 1 minute, you may not be able to deliver the entire report. I recommend you can prioritize maybe the speakers, or prioritize the pause fillers that were used the most. And why do I say this? For the ones used the most, that person probably has the highest chance of improving, meaning minimizing or eliminating their use of pause fillers. Apologies, Toastmaster Mariam, do you mind muting your device? Thank you so much. The person that has the highest use of pause fillers has the greatest chance of improving. And remember, the reason we have role players is so they can pay attention to what is happening and give feedback on how to improve. Highlighting the fact that someone uses the pause fillers and then they used it 30 times in that meeting. When that is brought to their awareness and the person starts paying attention, it makes it easier for them to reduce or minimize compared to someone that only used pause fillers maybe 3 times. Which is why I say prioritize the person that uses pause fillers the most, or prepared speeches and table topic speeches, excuse me. Nonetheless, if time permits, deliver your entire report. Give names. This is my recommendation. Give names, state the pause fillers they use, and then tell them how many times they use each one. The reason I say give names is because not all of us are aware enough to know that we use certain pause fillers. I've been to meetings where the counter comes and says, air was used 50 times, was used 20 times, and they may mention during the prepared speech segments, during table topics segments. But if I am not aware and I don't know I used it, then I do not get the opportunity to improve. But when you mention my name, then I know I need to pay attention to this. Then I know, okay, I use this pause fillers these numbers of times. That is my recommendation when you're delivering your reports. Name the people, state the pause fillers, state the number of times they used it, and then, if time permits, give recommendations on how to improve. Improvement being minimize or eliminate. And how do you do that? I'll give a few ways. If you think about it, you can probably come up with more, but I'll give a few ways. 1, pause. Many of us don't like pausing for whatever reason. Maybe we're nervous, or we feel it makes us seem more cerebral if we speak without pausing. No. Pause. It is human to pause. The pause enables those listening to assimilate what you've said, to catch up to you. We don't think at the same rate. The pause also permits you to think about the next thing you're going to say. It's okay. Taking a few seconds to pause and think, perfectly okay. Let people know that. Another recommendation, instead of waiting for Toastmasters meeting to minimize or try and eliminate your pause fillers, why not do it every single day? Most of us speak on a daily basis. You speak to at least one person on a daily basis. If, as you engage in your day-to-day conversations, you pay attention to your use of pause fillers and think, how can I reduce it or eliminate it by either pausing or for whatever reason? You get practice every single day versus twice a month or once a month. Give feedback on how they can improve. It's one thing to highlight this is a fault you may have. It's another thing to also give feedback on how to improve. And that's where we come in as Toastmasters. That's where we come in as role players. Pay attention to what is done. By the very fact that you're paying attention already increases the chance of improving, but give feedback on how to improve. Come on, that accelerates your rate of growth. As the accountant, if time permits, Toastmaster Larry, you can use these simple tips and it'll help you play your role much better. Does that help, Toastmaster Larry?
Yes, it does, Toastmaster John. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And Toastmaster Josephine has, out of the magnanimity of her heart, put the link for the accountant script right there and the log. You can download it and use that when you're playing the role. Any other question, comments regarding any roles that you intend to play or any of the things we've discussed tonight? Please go ahead, Toastmaster Razak.
Toastmaster John, good evening, and everyone on the call.
Good
Thank
evening.
you very kindly for this session. I'm glad I'm able to participate tonight. Thank you so much. There is this thing that you said that I love so much concerning people that are not competent in an area to play certain role. An example is that grammarian. What you said was that the general evaluator or Toastmaster of the day could say something like, there are people that are trying to perfect their skill, that are trying to improve themselves, so they might not perform to a certain standard. Stuff like that, I think that is very important, because there's something I'm always caught up with. Each time I try to invite people to Toastmasters, my colleagues and all, and when I see them during the meeting or I'm certain they're going to attend, I like to make sure that they are veterans that are playing the role so that they are impressed. They say, look at that, these people, they are very good at speaking. So I'm always like that. But then it's, how do we improve? How do we help members that are just trying to perfect their skill? How do we let them? So I think we can give people that chance to learn by practice. Then such a phrase could come so that people have that mind. And it's even very good because people that are observing and they know that they have that weakness, they're able to see that mirror in people that, okay, there are people are here that actually have the same kind of weakness that I have, and they're trying to improve. So it's not, they can even feel intimidated when everybody that speaks in that room are just experts, right? So I think that's very profound. Thank you very much.
Toastmaster Razak, thank you for finally joining this session and for that apt comment. It is so easy for us to forget why we are here. Like yourself, many of us, when we invite people, we also want this meeting, let it be so resplendent that it blows their minds away and they say, wow, these guys are good. If you're playing the role of Toastmaster of the Day or General Evaluator, especially Toastmaster of the Day, it is pertinent that you explain, we are all learning. Every single person. There's no one here that is an expert. If they feel they're an expert, they should not be here. Everyone is learning, but we are all at different levels. You may see some people and hear them speak and feel, oh my goodness, this person is perfection personified. And you hear some other people speak and you wonder, why are you so bad? Good. We are all in the right room, all here to improve. they need to stress it so that the guests and members know why we're here. In fact, as you highlighted, some of us don't even want to play certain roles because maybe we feel we're bad or we feel we're not as good as other people. And note, the people that should be playing roles more often are those who are not good at playing those roles.
Exactly.
When you step back because you feel you are not good or not as good as someone else, guess what happens? You let those people that are supposedly better keep getting better, and it should not be. If you are so bad, it means you need to play that role often as possible, close to each other. This is how we master skills. You master skills through repetition, nothing else. Not by reading about it, not by seeing people do it, is by taking action in doing those things that will give you and sharpen those skills. And Toastmasters gives you the environment free of judgment to come and practice. But you should be bold enough to step forward, sign up for the role, and do it repeatedly. Toastmaster Razak, thank you so much for that. It needs to be stressed on a regular basis, especially if for whatever reason the meeting, they see that people are performing poorly. Performing meaning your expectation, they didn't seem to meet it. The Toastmaster of the day or the General Evaluator should actually stress, look, we are all here learning, and this is why we have this environment. If you are poor in certain skills, come and improve. We're all here improving. You may lose certain guests. That's okay. When people come to my club, one of the things I tell them is, please, before you sign up, especially those that say, I want to sign up, I tell them, visit as many clubs as possible. Why? Different clubs have different cultures. If our club is not up to your standard or it has a different culture than you like, it's better you sign up elsewhere because you want to sign up in a club that you love to visit and play roles and give speeches. And if for whatever reason this meeting was not up to par based on what you were expecting, I'm sure you'll find other clubs that are up to par. We cannot be a club that everyone loves. It's not possible. Nothing is loved by everyone, and that's okay. But if the Toastmaster of the day and the General Evaluator simply explain, as you stated, Toastmaster Razak, is going to help our guests know, okay, everyone is learning, so they don't have to be at that level. And it also encourages our members to step forward and play those roles. Thank you so much for that, Toastmaster Razak.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other questions? It does not have to be as profound as Toastmaster Razak's comment. For now, I don't see any hands up and I don't see anything in the chat box. Thank you once again for joining. We're here every Friday. We usually post the 2 roles that we'll cover. If the roles are not interesting to you, you don't want to learn it, at that moment, you don't have to join. If you feel they are relevant and you get some benefit from it, then you can join. We start at 9. As long as we have one person here, 9 o'clock we start. By 9:30, we are done. People can exit at that point, but afterwards, we can still stay here if people have more questions or comments, and we'll do our best to attend to them. My encouragement to you is, as you learn, take action. The sooner, the better, because it's in taking action that you actually properly learn. Certain things that were said will make sense when you take action. Certain things may be more confusing, which hopefully will spur you to do more research and get the actual information that you now properly understand. Take action as soon as possible, especially if you feel you're bad at these roles. You've not played the role of General Evaluator, not played the role of Grammarian, or you've been running away from them. I highly encourage you to play these roles sooner rather than later. If interested, I'll see you next week, Friday, and I hope we'll all enjoy the rest of our weekend. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Toastmaster John. Thank you so much.
Night. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you, St. John, and have a
You're
pleasant
welcome.
Thank
weekend.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does this happen every Sunday?
Every Friday.
Friday.
Or
Every Friday
Friday,
night.
I mean.
Yes, every Friday
Ah,
9 to 9:30. We cover different roles.
all right. Thank you so much. You have
Do you
really
want
helped
to
me.
join the group, the role players training group? We usually post the details there.
Okay.
Okay, I've dropped my
What's
number.
up? Is it,
I'm dropping my number right now.
is
It's
it
on
what's
WhatsApp
up?
again.
All
You can
right.
send
Let me
a message with your name and then I'll add you to the group so that you know when it's occurring every Friday. It's a WhatsApp group.
Thanks.
Welcome.
All right.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Where's the number?
I just dropped it. Can you
I
see
haven't
it in the
seen the
chat
number.
box? 0706-249-8175.
Okay.
It's in the chat box. Do you have it?
Say it again. 070.
0706
Okay.
249
209.
244